Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week 7 of the WiggyWam Get Your Property Questions Answered webinar. I'm super thrilled that we have made it through 7 weeks of doing this, and it just seems to be that there's so much going on in the marketplace right now. Utter chaos. There seems to be so much happening right now, and this is kind of your safe sanctuary, if you like, your safe harbor in the rough seas of trying to get moved. And this is a place where you can come and ask all of the property questions that you've got that are sort of niggling away in your mind, that you're wondering, where do I go to get some answers to the problems that you're faced with right now in the marketplace. Then you're welcome to come here, submit your questions to us, and we'll take those questions and answer them for you as best we possibly can. It has been an incredibly busy week. I don't mind telling you that behind the scenes within WiggyWam, we've got an awful lot going on. I've also been sort of working 18, 20-hour days. So if I'm looking a little bit tired and exhausted, or I trip over my words, then that's exactly what's going on, I'm afraid. But it's great news. It's a lot of good stuff coming to the marketplace. I'm super thrilled of this journey that we're embarking upon, and the support that we're getting from the community and also from big names in the industry, which will be revealed as time goes on. So very excited about what's to come. Just to give you a little bit of background, if anybody's not ever spent any time with me, doesn't know who I am and all the rest of it, my name's Silass. I'm the CEO of WiggyWam, and I've been very fortunate to work with some of the top names, household names, if you like, in the property industry. People like Martin Roberts, Robbie Fowler. I've worked with a couple of secret millionaires. I've coached, mentored, and trained people in the art of property investment, buying and selling property. And I even recall that I did my own conveyancing on one of the very first properties I ever bought. This is going way back, I think, to probably 2000 and it must have been about 2003, 2004. Didn't quite get it right, I will admit, but it was one of those experiences that I recalled from going through my property investment journey. And as I say, it was a property that myself and my father bought at that time. And because I was an estate agent, he just thought I knew everything to do with property. And he just said, okay, sort that out. And it was one of these things you kind of, I find that you learn a lot by going out there and doing things, and particularly things that are outside of your competence. And then you've got to find, the answer to the answer to the problem and the solution to whatever it is that you're dealing with. And that usually involves talking to people who are far smarter than I am. So that's been a little bit about my background. And I'm very privileged that we are embarking on a journey right now to effectively speed up the housing market. And what I've noticed since I was in agency back in the late 90s, that it used to take sort of 6 to 8 weeks from when somebody made an offer to actually get the contracts exchanged on that property deal. And now we're looking at sort of 24, 26 weeks or longer in some parts of the country. And I feel that's unacceptable, quite frankly. And I know it's not the fault of all the hardworking professionals that are trying to get deals done at this moment in time. But I do think that there is certainly areas for us to change the nature of all the way properties are bought and sold. And I'm really thrilled with what we're bringing to the market as far as WiggyWam is concerned, because I think that's going to help an awful lot of people. With that in mind, I think I mentioned last week, we've got the launch of Home Buyers Secrets. Now, this is going out. Well, it's been in the printers now. There's a box of books arriving on my doorstep very shortly. We're going to be doing a launch offer of this, and I'm also going to be giving away some property training that sits behind all of the theories and all the knowledge and the resources that we put into this book. It's about 225 pages of knowledge and information and resources that I've been fortunate enough to gather, I've been fortunate enough to experience from the School of Hard Knocks, shall we say, all the life lessons that have taught me how to buy and sell property really quickly, and what you need to do to protect yourselves. Because one of the things that's driving me a little bit crazy right now is that 1 in 3 property deals will fall through, and that will leave buyers or sellers with an out-of-pocket expense, if you like, in the region of about £2,000, and that to me is an awful lot of money to pay for the privilege of not moving home. And I think that if people knew a different way of doing things, then I think that story would change and those statistics would change drastically. And that's exactly what I reveal in Home Buyer Secrets. So I did do a giveaway last week. I do have a couple of copies left if somebody wants them. Just let me know. Send me an email. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk, and I'll get a copy of this book in a post to you ASAP. Also, if you've got friends and family who are moving at the moment, let them know that this book is available. and we can help them through the book itself and through the property training that we put together. And I'll happily grant access to people who want that, because it is important. And let's be frank about it. Moving house is a sort of once in a lifetime event, and it's one of these things that most people don't move for probably 17 years. They're staying at one place for a long period of time, and so they forget about the bad experience that they had. But if you talk to anybody who's moved recently, they'll tell you that it was an awful experience, and they never want to repeat it again. And I think it's a shame that when it comes to spending Rolls-Royce money on bricks and mortar, that people are struggling, and it's because to a large extent there's a lack of knowledge. And I believe knowledge first allows you to actually put that knowledge into practice and overcome a lot of the hurdles and the roadblocks and the pitfalls and the bear traps that are there to unfortunately trip people up along the way. So that's what we're all about. That's why we did Home Buyers Secrets as a book. As I say, that's gone to the printers. That will be with us ASAP. So I'm really excited about that. Look out for that, because that'll be going into the press very soon as well. So yeah, there's all of that going on. There's also something else I want some help with, if I may, from the WiggyWam community. I don't know whether there's an algorithm that has changed, if that's even how you say that word, I don't know, but an algorithm with YouTube. A lot of our videos are going out onto YouTube. You've probably seen them on there right now. But we also circulate these videos with our mailing list, which is very extensive. And we also post these videos onto our WiggyWam website itself. And what we've noticed is that there is a lot of views that are racking up on the WiggyWam website and through our mailing list that aren't necessarily translating into views on YouTube. And we've seen this with a number of other people in the industry, where they're posting they're posting videos, and they're not getting the same amount of views as they have on their stuff previously. So if anybody knows the reason why this is, please do let us know. It's not that we're all about chasing likes and views and all that sort of thing. That's not what it's all about, but it is confusing when we're getting hundreds more views on our website and it's not actually showing because it's playing the YouTube video in the background. Not sure why that is. But if you're an expert in this sort of stuff, please reach out to me. Let me know. We'd love your help and input onto that one. Whether it's a glitch in the matrix or whether it's something fundamentally that's been changed, I'm not sure. But yeah, as I say, we'd love your help and support on that. We're opening up a lot more channels of communication as far as social media is concerned as well. So yeah, we're really excited to be sharing our knowledge and information and resources with a lot of people. So yeah, keep an eye open for those. Also, I want to share with you something that was really interesting that occurred to me whilst I was thinking about this giveaway that we did last week. I thought we'd be inundated with people asking for a copy of the book. And it reminded me of a time when I was doing a lot of the speaking and training and mentoring for the property training. And sometimes we'd play a bit of a trick, if you like, on the audience. And we'd stand there and you take your wallet out and you would hold up, a £5 note, a £10 note, a £20 note. And you'd say to the audience, who wants this note, right? And you'd probably get, I don't know, 30 to 50% of the audience put their hand up and say, yeah, I want it, I want it, I want it. And they'd all sit there in their chairs. And it's like, okay, so who wants this note? Like, oh, yes, I want it, I want it, I want it. And it's like, okay, so who wants this note, right? And it would take probably almost a minute or two for people to click and go, actually, to get this, I need to take action. And they would leap out of their chairs, they'd come running towards the front of the room, and the first one there would grab it. But the moment one person moved and they ran towards the front of the room, everybody else clicked and got the idea, and then you kind of got mobbed by all these people jumping out of the seats and running towards you. And it was quite a good bit of fun. But the point of that story is that there's a lot of times do I see that when opportunities and offers are made to people, we kind of get caught in this it's almost too good to be true trap. And we don't take action on them because we, suspect that there's some kind of hidden agenda or some kind of thing that we can't see that's going on behind the scenes as to why this offer is being made. And therefore, we don't take advantage. And that's not the case with what we're doing with Home Buyers Secrets. As I say, if you want a copy, let me know. We've got a couple left to give away. But I just want to encourage you to take action, because in this market turmoil that we've got coming along, there is going to be a lot of opportunity out there, and there's going to be opportunities to buy properties at a discount if that's your thing. There's going to be opportunities to buy stuff, I think, over the course of the next few years that you will never see offered again in your lifetime. And in fact, in 2008, I remember reading one of these posh coffee table magazines. And it said in there that there was a ranch that was being offered for sale in Florida. It was the kind of thing you would never, ever, ever be able to buy, right? And it was offered for the first time in about 40 or 50 years. And it was only offered because of the financial crisis that was going on at that time. And I think there will be more things like that happening, unfortunately, as a result of the chaos that's going on with all these different mini budgets and goodness knows what else, with escalating mortgage rates, et cetera, et cetera. I'm hearing some pretty interesting statistics coming out in terms of the number of people that are dropping off a fixed rate mortgage deal and that are going to see their payments double or even triple over the course of the next few months. So this is not me spreading fear. The market is the market is the market. The market will always react the way it does based on fear or greed. Those are the two driving forces in a lot of marketplaces. And unfortunately, in this moment in time, it looks as though what has been greed is going to shift now to more towards fear. And that's just the way it is. It's happened for the last couple of 100 years, and I'm sure it will continue to happen long after I've gone. So just sit tight. There will be some opportunities coming. I'm quite convinced, and we're here to help you. If you're in a situation that's uncomfortable, if you've got properties that you're looking to sell, or you're in a situation where deals are being delayed for whatever reason, again, reach out to us and let us help you with those answers. Okay, so moving on, guys, I want to just, one of the things that we did last week, which was really popular, I talked about, I answered one of the questions about anxiety and sort of mental health, and we had quite a lot of feedback from people who had watched that video. It's probably our most watched video that we did from last week's questions. And I just wanted to give you a quick 5 top tips of how to sort of beat anxiety, because it is one of these things that's becoming more and more prevalent in today's life, really, I suppose. And it's having battled with it myself, that I found a number of things that really, really help. And I'll just walk you through my sort of top 5 list. Number 1, this is actually something I did in the last week. It was a day last week when things were getting a little bit on top of me. I had an awful lot of things going on. I have an awful lot of projects going on in the background that require an awful lot of mental energy. And sometimes I'm sitting at my desk and I just feel really uptight. And so one of the things I do is I just get out there into nature and I just walk in nature. I have, there's a little reservoir nearby where we live. There's nice bits of woodland around there. I just take the dog, throw the dog in the car. We head down to the reservoir. We take a walk around, and I can guarantee within about 15 minutes, breathing that fresh air, being out in the countryside, feeling a little bit of sun on me, then things just start to change. All of that negative emotion starts to melt away, and I feel really, really grounded. So that would be my first tip. And in conjunction with that, if you're out in nature and you're walking, or just even if you're sitting at your desk, there is a theory, and it's worked for me. Whether it works, for everybody else, I know is a different story. But one of the things I've noticed is when you are looking, let's say you're walking in nature, look as far as you can into the distance, onto the horizon. The furthest point that you can find to look away into the horizon, and you'll be really interested to see how you feel by doing that exercise. It is meant to alleviate depression. As I say, it's worked for me in the past, and I hope it works for you guys, but I just thought I'd mention that. If you're going to be out in nature, may as well take advantage, okay? So my second tip would be to look at banishing screen time, particularly an hour before bedtime. You need time for your brain to sort of calm down, and I think a lot of us are running around with dopamine receptors that are fried in our brain because we're too overstimulated. And that's got worse as a result of things like social media and, our phones always being on all of the time. So put your phone in grayscale mode. That would be one of the things I would suggest, because it gets rid of that sort of brightness and inviting of the color screen that we're all looking at. That will really help your brain to sort of calm down and relax a little bit. And as I say, banish that at least an hour before bedtime. And people go, oh my God, what do I do? I'm so used to looking at my phone before I fall asleep. Well, grab yourself a copy of Home Buyer Secrets and have a read of that before you fall asleep. It probably won't send you to sleep. You'll probably get really excited about all of the things you're going to do with all the knowledge you've got, but at least it'll help you to stop getting overstimulated by looking at screens all the time. So that would be my second tip. Third tip is to cut your social media consumption. I do believe comparison is the thief of joy. And I think in today's society, unfortunately, there is so much where people are sharing photos or videos and they are all acting as though they really know what they're going on. And then when you start to talk to the people who are out there, who are the movers and shakers, they'll tell you they don't really have a first clue about what they're doing. They're just throwing a lot of stuff out there and, seeing what works and doing more of what works and less of what doesn't. Okay. And that's from some very, very high level people across the world who will share that with you. So I think one of the most tragic stories I ever heard about this sort of thing was a group of friends who were talking about one particular girl who they thought really had their life together because she had the model boyfriend and all the designer clothes and the handbags and everything else, and was constantly out in all these different holiday destinations, with the photos on Instagram. And they were just like, oh my God, I wish that I was that person, because they were so drawn in by this person's story. And actually, I knew the truth of what was going on in this girl's life. And she unfortunately got an eating disorder. The relationship with the boyfriend wasn't good at all. So there was some things going on at home as well, which obviously I feel for anybody who's got problems going on at home. But the relationships that she had around her were not particularly helpful, let's put it that way. And a lot of all this sort of exotic lifestyle was being fueled by debt. And that situation was getting further and further and further into debt and causing her a lot of problems. And so not everything is quite as it seems on social media. And I think we all have to be really, really careful about trying to eliminate that as much as possible. So that would be my third tip. On that point, I would become a producer of social media. If you're in business or if you're trying to raise profile, become a producer of social media, not a consumer. Okay. Tip number 4 would be to reduce or cut out caffeine. And the reason I say that is because caffeine gives us an energy boost, okay, but largely it doesn't actually have any calories in caffeine. So if you take a cup of black coffee, for example, there is virtually 0 calories in that drink. And a lot of people will drink it because it has no calories. But the point is, if it's giving you energy and it has no calories, where is that energy coming from? And usually it's because of an overstimulated adrenal system, and it's overstimulating your body in such a way that it can lead to a sort of roller coaster ride of emotions and energy levels as you sort of get the stimulus because of adrenaline being pumped into your system, and then the caffeine wears off, you get the crash effect, so you have to have another cup of coffee to boost yourself back up again, and you can kind of ride this roller coaster of emotions all the way along. Apparently, there is also some research that suggests that where certain brands of coffee or certain coffee beans, where they haven't been dried properly in the harvesting process, apparently they can become quite moldy, and it's the mold that makes people jittery. Now, I don't know how true that is. I'm not a coffee bean expert. To be honest with you, all I know is that certain coffees I can drink and I feel okay, and then other coffees I drink and I feel, an absolute nervous wreck. So I think there's a lot in that, whether it's the mold or whether there's something else going on, I'm not quite sure. But that's something to be thinking about. Also, if you go onto YouTube and Google, I think it's ABC News MRI scan or something like that, and you'll find in there they did an MRI scan on somebody who drank who had 2 MRI scans and drank a cup of coffee in between, and they scanned the brain before and after the consumption of coffee, and they found, and this really freaked me out when I saw this. Okay, so just check it out and see what I'm trying to say. But what they found on these MRI scans was the second MRI scan showed that the amount of oxygen going to the brain was 40% less after the lady had drunk the coffee than it was beforehand. Now, whether that's the coffee, whether that's the MRI scanner, I'm not sure. But it did sort of freak me out a little bit, wondering what on earth was going on here. So just check that out. It's worth a look and make your own conclusion as to what you think that is. And finally, number 5, my top 5 tips here would be to get more high quality sleep. Okay. And we live in this society that's 24 hours, always on, kind of emails wherever you go, notifications wherever you go. And our bodies don't get the chance that they used to sort of repair, to switch off, to rest. And if you go back, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 years ago, people wouldn't have this constant overstimulus. You'd have maybe 4 TV channels to watch. You'd have the newspaper, you'd have books. You certainly wouldn't be carrying a phone in your pocket where you could access all of the information in the world at the flick of a button. And that, I think, has not served us in a lot of ways, because there's this kind of addiction that's running with people and their phones. And so your body and your brain, more importantly, needs time to reset and relax and unwind and process the events of the day. And if you're not getting enough high quality sleep, that can actually be detrimental to your body in terms of the repair and healing process, and also the ability of your brain to actually process what's going on in the day. And in fact, I think there's some studies that suggest that if you go without sleep, well, it's torture techniques, isn't it? If you go without sleep for like 3 or 4 days, that is enough to almost send people mad. So you need to be really careful about, getting the right quality sleep. It is good quality sleep. I'd recommend blackout curtains, definitely, to try and block out as much light as possible from entering the room, so that you can have a really, really good, decent night's sleep. Obviously, you should block out as much noise as possible, and also to get your bed as comfortable as possible for the sleep. So a good quality duvet and good quality pillows, really, really good to help you get a really decent night's sleep. So hopefully that's been really useful. But I thought it was so important to do it. As I say, I know a lot of people are struggling with it, so I just wanted to share with you the things that have worked for me, and hopefully they're going to be useful for you guys as well. So moving on, let's start with question number 1 here, that's coming from Daniel. Thank you, Daniel, for your question. Daniel's question is this: I currently live with my grandfather in a house I bought 10 plus years ago. I'm about to be married. Congratulations on that, Daniel. I'm about to be married, and we are looking to buy our own property. My current mortgage is fixed at 2.36 until August 23, after which it will be the standard variable with a 1.25% discount. I don't want to sell this property as my grandfather doesn't want to move. I have about 30% equity in it, which I would like to take out. I will need to take out a second mortgage for our new home, but I've been told that lenders are not keen on you renting property to family members. What is the best way forward in my situation? Okay, great question, Daniel. Thank you for that. There's a number of different things that are going on there, so let's just sort of address them. If I was in your position, Daniel, here's what I'd be doing. First and foremost, I'd be having a non-committal telephone conversation with your current lender. And I would be exploring my options with the lender on the phone, and asking them, if I did this, how would you view it? And if I did this, how would you view it? Okay, because whilst it's true a lot of lenders aren't keen on properties being rented out full stop if they're on a primary residential mortgage, some will actually make a special dispensation for you, so they will allow it in certain circumstances. Other lenders may allow you to rent to a family member, particularly in the situation that you've outlined here, where it's your granddad. It's worth having that conversation to see what they will suggest. They may also be able to offer you options where you could potentially port the mortgage to another property. So if you're looking to buy another property, they may hold that product open for you, particularly as you've still got sort of 9-10 months of that discounted mortgage product to run on. They may allow you to transfer that to the new property that you're interested in buying in, and you get a different product on the one that you're in at the moment. So hopefully that makes sense. As I say, you can transfer that to another property. Not all lenders do it, but some will. So it's worth asking that question. You mentioned you've got about 30% equity in the property. Now, it's unlikely that they'll let you take all of it out. But again, it's worth discussing what the options are if you want to keep your granddad in the property. The one thing you're going to have to look at here, Daniel, is affordability. So how do you run those two mortgages side by side? Because I'm not aware whether or not you haven't mentioned whether your granddad is paying you any rent. You may not be charging that. That's totally understandable. But obviously there's a cost to that every single month. And then there's going to be a new cost with the new product that you take out. So it will be a case of, will your finances support that situation? And do they balance, running both of those mortgages at the same time? So that's what I would look to do. They may even allow you to tweak the product itself to allow for the change in circumstances that you have. And that may vary depending upon how long you think that this arrangement is going to continue on for. So they might do it for 12 months or 18 months, but after that, they might insist that actually, no, you can't carry on this particular product. You're going to have to get something else in place. Okay. So that is a couple of options to explore with your lender. And then the other one is that they might allow you to leave that product in place until expiry of the deal and then refinance, because again, I'm guessing that you will have some kind of fixed penalties to pay if you decide to pay back that product early and all the rest of it. So it's worth exploring those with the lender first and foremost. That's a phone call. I usually find that a lot of people that man these help desks can actually be quite helpful. You might need to elevate up to a manager when you're making that call, just to see if they've got a little bit more knowledge and experience on what they can help you with. They may be really helpful. They may be not helpful at all. They may say, just go and talk to a mortgage broker and they'll sort it all out for you. So it does depend on the particular lender. You haven't mentioned who it is, but it's certainly worth exploring those in a non-committal phone call, first of all, and then going from there. Okay, once you've got a few more options and a few more bits of information to help you make a decision as to which way you're going to go. So I hope that's really helpful for you, Daniel. Anything that you need on that, let me know. More than happy to sort of dive in a little bit further if you can't sort it out. And the other thing to consider, of course, Daniel, is that you might want to carry on living there with your new wife for a couple of months until that deal expires, and let the current volatility in the marketplace wash itself out. And then when things have calmed down, you might be able to get a better rate on the deal that you're looking at the moment. So a couple of different options, depends on your personal circumstances, how well everybody gets on and all the rest of it. But that's definitely what I would be exploring if I was in your shoes. So, all right, thank you for that. Moving on, a question here from Elaine. Hi there, Elaine. Elaine is saying, can I ask my solicitor to send me a copy of the emails regarding contract inquiries they say they sent to the seller solicitor 9 weeks ago? The seller solicitor is saying they haven't been received, so I want proof and also to forward them on personally. My solicitor said they sent a follow-up email last week stating the urgency, but heard nothing back. A mortgage offer expires next month and it's a good rate I can't afford to lose. Everything else has been done, but the seller solicitor doesn't appear to be doing their job properly. Is it normal for things to take this long? Is it normal for a solicitor to behave this way? Okay, great question, Elaine. Thank you for dropping that into our, I think you sent it in via email. So thanks for doing that. So here's how I would approach it, Elaine, if I was in your shoes. Okay, you can certainly ask your solicitor for a copy of that email or copies of the emails that have been sent. They may or may not supply them, is kind of the question. And I would say there's a likelihood they may not. Depends on, I can understand what you're trying to do by asking that question, Elaine. You're trying to establish the truth of what's going on here, right? You're trying to get to the bottom of why has there been this 9-week delay? Why is one party saying they've got the information, they haven't got the information, and the other one saying they've sent it? So you just want to get to the truth of the matter, right? But what I would do if I was in your shoes, I would get on the phone. I presume you're buying via an estate agent. So I would talk to the seller via the estate agent and see if they can intervene, because the agent has a vested interest to obviously keep the deal together, because they don't get paid until such time as the deal goes through. And if you're about to lose your mortgage offer, then you may not be able to buy the property at the price you've already agreed, or you may not be able to buy it full stop. And so the estate agent has a vested interest to try and keep that deal together so that everybody gets paid. Now, if the seller solicitor isn't cooperating, that would obviously be a situation where the agent and the seller can put pressure on their solicitor to try and speed things along a little bit, because obviously they don't want to lose you as a buyer and have to swallow all of the cost of getting to that point, right? So I would definitely be putting pressure on via the agent, and as I say, via the seller and the agent onto the seller solicitor to try and get this one resolved, rather than going back to your solicitor, because that's the only way I think you're going to get this one moving and get it happening the way that you want it to. I can say it's not normal for solicitors to behave this way, but unfortunately, with the way the market's been and the way things have gone, it's becoming more and more regular that a lot of solicitors have become overworked. They've spent a lot of time and effort and energy trying to get an enormous amount of transactions done in a very short period of time. And as a consequence, a lot of solicitors have become stressed out. A lot of conveyancers have left the marketplace. And that obviously puts a squeeze on the remaining the remaining solicitors that are in place to try and get deals done as quickly as possible. Okay. So I would say attack it via the agent and the seller, and just try and put that pressure on just to try and get this one through, because obviously the key point is don't lose that deal if you can help it at all. All right. So hopefully that helps, Elaine. Any problems, any questions, any queries, concerns, come back to me, let me know. More than happy to go through those things with you and help you out as much as possible. All right. Question number 3 here comes in from Beth. Hi there, Beth. Thank you for your question. Beth says, can I cancel a contract with an estate agent? It's a sole agency after a year without giving 14 days notice. They have sold our house STC. We want to move fast, but the agent and buyers appear to be deliberately delaying things. Communication between us all is dreadful. We are constantly calling the agent and being told they will call back. I am always told the same thing, that they are out of the office and they will call back. They never do. And nor do they reply to emails. They don't have a physical branch, so it's not like I can drop by their office. Is this poor service enough to justify ending the contract? And will I have to pay their fee still if I progress with the current buyer? Okay, great question, Beth. I can understand your frustration. I'm sorry to hear that you're in that situation. And it's interesting that this has happened after a year of being with this particular agent. And it sounds to me like you're dealing with online only. Not that that's usually a problem, but obviously in this situation where you're trying to get answers out of people and there's nowhere to go, it can obviously be a major headache. So here's how I would handle it. If you go to the agent, if you communicate with them in a way that says, you want to cancel the contract, you've had enough, you're unhappy with the level of service, try and explain it calmly. Okay, don't just go off emotionally and ranting and raving. Try to explain it calmly and just say, look, this is what's happened. I'm really fed up. I'm cancelling the contract with you and I'm withdrawing the house off the market. Now, the likelihood is, if your contract is a typical one that is used within the estate agency world, it's likely that there will be a 12-week marketing period, okay? And then after that, you have the freedom to pull the property off the market with either paying a small amount of marketing expenses or none at all if it's a no sale, no fee agreement. But there will be likely that there's a caveat in the contract that says, if you sell the property to anybody that they've introduced as a potential buyer within probably up to 2 years, then the likelihood is you will have to pay them their commission. And they do that to stop. They do this to stop, buyers and sellers cutting the agent out and doing the deal privately between them, and then the agent gets nothing for all the hard work and effort that they put into it. But by you going to say you're going to cancel the contract should hopefully get the agent to rear their head so that you can have this conversation that says, you know what, I've been your client. I'm not getting the answers that I expected from you guys. I'm really disappointed. And this is what I kind of expected you to do as my agent acting for me. You haven't done that. And I'm getting pretty upset. Okay. Now, they may, tell you where to go. It's a possibility. I would hope not, but they may tell you where to go. But more likely what they will do is they will either step up their level of customer service and you'll get the deal done and you'll move and you'll just put that down to a bad experience, or they may even agree to actually capitulate on the fee. That's a possibility. It's worth exploring with them just to sort of compensate for the service level that you receive, which doesn't appear to be up to par. And I'll give you a parallel for this, Beth. Last week, the wife and I went for a day out, and it was to a it's not my usual place that I like to go to, but it was a spa day to one of these spa facilities and what have you. And it was not a cheap day out, I'll be honest with you. And I was really disappointed with the level of service that we received whilst we were there. There were a couple of things, and it wasn't just in isolation. We went probably about 6 months ago to the same place, and I'll be honest with you, again, it wasn't quite what I felt up to standard, particularly as they're charging premium prices. And so at the end of the experience, I just calmly said, do you have some feedback forms? And I wrote out a bit of a feedback, and I just said, look, guys, to me, as a paying customer, this is what you're offering. You're charging premium prices. This is how the service is panning out for a paying customer's perspective. I think you should raise your game. And I submitted that. There was no name calling. There was no, emotional upset or anything like that. It was just calmly stating the facts from a client's perspective. This is what I experienced by being with you today. And to be fair to them, as good as gold, they got on. They emailed me back straight away. Can we talk to you about this? I picked up the phone. I had a 10-minute conversation with them. I just said, look, the British aren't very good at giving feedback because we beat about the bush and we say, oh, it was maybe a little bit this, a little bit that. I said, I'll tell you straight, this is where I'm coming from. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And it didn't make me feel like a particularly valued customer. Okay. And I'm one of these people, I'll give feedback based on both ends of the scale. Okay, so if it's average, it's kind of neither here nor there. But if you're at the top end of the scale and you give excellent service, I'll always give you feedback. And if you're at the bottom end of the scale, I'll always like to give you feedback because I want to try and help you, move things forward. And in this case, I just said, look, I can't justify ever coming back because of this was my experience. I don't really think it matched what you're trying to charge, right? And they were very, very good. They dealt with it very, very professionally, and they offered us something out of it that sort of, pleased my wife and I. And it was just like, okay, well, maybe we can do something about this, So it's always worth giving that feedback in a way that I think can help and support the agent in this case. It is tragic that you're getting this, substandard level of service, and it might be a one-off. It might be how they conduct the business. There might be other things going on in the background that we don't know about. So give them the benefit of the doubt. But obviously, your vested interest is to get the property sold and moved as quickly as possible. There's far more cost involved in losing the property that you want to buy and having to pay all the fees and everything else that you've already incurred as costs and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I would try and keep the door open and try and get moved as quickly as possible without causing yourself any headaches and upset. So that's how I deal with that one, Beth. And hope you like my long rambling explanation of other things that hopefully have helped you in terms of getting things done as soon as possible. All right, moving on. Question number 4 here from Jonathan. What should I expect to pay for the conveyancing work a solicitor does when buying a property? I've been trying to research this as a couple of sites I've gone on, produced wildly different quotes, ranging from as low as $399 up to $2,800. I also read this article in the advisory who say that you should expect to pay between $1,000 and $1,500 to buy a property less than $500,000. It looks to be a reputable site. On the same page, it says to expect to pay between $600 to $800 if selling. Are these figures correct? Okay, Jonathan, well, that's a great question. Thank you for submitting that. And here's my view, Jonathan. I've been in this game for quite a long time. I've helped a lot of people, and I've also bought a lot and sold a lot of properties myself. And there's what I've noticed in the industry is there's a lot of solicitors who will compete on price. And I actually asked a solicitor outright this week. They said, we've got 23 years experience in the industry and the client only wants to buy on price. And I said to this person, so in 23 years, how much sales and marketing training have you actually done? And the response was, I'm a conveyancer. There's not enough hours in the day. What would you suggest? And the reason I'm mentioning this is because if you don't understand how to package and offer your service to the marketplace in a way that shows incredible value for money and that kind of helps the client to see what they're actually getting as part of their money, then it's very difficult to convince a client to spend more. And what I'm noticing, and this goes from looking at dozens and dozens and dozens of law firms behind the scenes, so not what you see on their pretty website, I'm talking diving into the financial numbers of most law firms, conveyancing law firms, etc. I am seeing that a lot of them are not as profitable as they would like to be. And the reason for that is that they advertise this work, or they will quote low fees on this work in order to win the job because their competition is charging less. And typically this is what happens in a lot of business environments. You have somebody that enters the market, they look around at what everybody else is doing, okay, and they see that they're offering the similar sort of levels of service, and they're all within a certain price range, so they decide to offer a little bit more service for a little less money. Okay, and so you end up in this negative spiral of prices, okay, and trying to do one-upmanship with the service, but at a lower price. And there's only so long that value disparity can go on for, because before it becomes totally unprofitable to do the work. And as a consequence, what I'm seeing is that a lot of these low-price conveyancing firms are unfortunately shooting themselves in the foot, because they're winning a lot of work, but then you've got to pay somebody to process that work. And this then ends up behind the scenes as one of these scenarios. And I'm not saying this is for all law firms, I'm really not, but just in my experience, this is what I've found, is that the work then gets delegated to the, shall we say, the cheaper fee earners, or low-cost fee earners within the practice, in order for them to try and squeeze a profit out of all this low-price work that they've taken on. And that's a real challenge, because if you're working your way up through a law firm, you're a sort of newbie conveyancer, if you like, chances are you're going to be a lot more cautious. You're going to have a lot more questions to ask, because you don't want to lose your job, or you don't want to get sued, right? That just seems logical to me as an approach. So the issue may well be that these lower level conveyancers or paralegals are doing this work, but then they raise a lot more inquiries because they're uncertain as to what's actually involved in the process. Whereas a more experienced conveyancer coming in, who's got 10, 20, 30 years experience, might look at a file and instantly know there's no problem, just do this and this, and actually we'll get the deal through a lot quicker. And I'm told by heavy hitters in the industry that the amount of work on a conveyancing file is about 6 to 8 hours. Okay, and that's if they've got the time to sit down and plow through the file in one hit and get the deal done. All right. Now, we talk about multitasking in today's modern society, right, where we jump from one task to another, to another, to another, and it seems like we're being really productive. And this is another thing that goes on behind the scenes, is that we've got this constant switching of one file to another, to another, to another. And actually, if you sat down with one file and did the bulk of the work in one hit, chances are you get that deal done in 6 hours, and you could charge the client more for the experience because you've offered a premium level of experience, which is exactly what we were talking about in the last question. But you're offering a premium level of experience and you're charging accordingly, but the client's delighted because actually, do you know what? They've got the keys to the house a lot quicker than they thought they otherwise might. So I would suggest, my long-winded answer to this question would be, if I was in your shoes, I'd be now expecting to pay about 1,500 quid for your conveyancing, okay? And that is to help overcome a lot of these problems by getting an experienced conveyancer on the job and letting them get on with it, okay, and get it done as soon as possible, because ultimately that's the big thing. You know, let's say you found somebody who will do it for £1,000. Let's say you found somebody who will do it for 500 quid, but they're going to take 3 times as long to do it. The longer the deal goes on for, the higher the likelihood of that deal falling through, and you could be left out of pocket for several £100s and still not have moved home. So if I said to you, Jonathan, you know, option A is low cost conveyancing. It could take up to 26 weeks for you to exchange contracts, and there's a 1 in 3 chance of that deal falling through, okay, but you're only paying, 500 quid. Or option B is to pay 1,500 quid, have a 1 in 10 chance of the sale or purchase falling through, but it will be done in under 6 weeks. Which one are you going to go for? And when you're spending hundreds of thousands of pounds, or in this case, it seems like you're spending, up to £500,000, it's a total no-brainer. Okay, and that's exactly how I would approach it. Trying to save a few hundred quid on something like this, I don't think it's worth it. It's not worth the stress. I've talked to hundreds of people who've gone through this process and they've regretted it. You only have to go to the money saving expert forums and have a look at the amount of questions and issues that are raised by people that have tried to cut corners in this process and avoid spending that extra little bit of money, and it's bitten them on the backside. So I wouldn't be doing you a good service, Jonathan, if I didn't recommend you spend more on getting the right conveyancer on board. If you are struggling, please reach out to me. I've got some people in my back pocket that can probably help you. They'll do this inside of 6 weeks, which I think will be phenomenal, okay, and help you to get the keys to your new dream home as quickly as possible. So hopefully that's helpful, Jonathan. Thank you for your question again, and good luck with that move. Hope it all goes well, and hopefully you'll be in before Christmas, which will be amazing. All right. And question number 5 coming in here from Anna. This looks like quite a long one, guys, so bear with me whilst I go through it. So Anna says, We are first-time buyers, and what was meant to be an easy process, no chain, has turned into a nightmare. My mortgage advisor appointed us a solicitor he rated highly. Within a week, I became suspicious. I spoke to him on the phone only once, and it took ages to reply to emails. The owner of the property we are buying informed me that her solicitor was also having trouble getting through to him, and so did the estate agents. We received most of the information secondhand from the owner of the property. When her solicitor would eventually get through, if I ever called, I would get fobbed off and told he was on another call and would call me back, but never did. Completion date was last Friday. On the Wednesday, we tried to transfer our deposit and it bounced back. Called my bank the next morning and they said the account must be closed. We were supposed to be going to the solicitors that day to sign our contract, so thought we would just go there instead and ask. When I typed the name into Google, it then said permanently closed. This instantly screamed alarm bells, but we went there anyway. Got to the door, it was locked. We were later informed that they had now been shut down and told to appoint a new solicitor. Last Saturday, I got an email saying mortgage complete. I forwarded this on to my advisor, and he said it might be an automated message and that I should forward it to my new solicitor. I phoned my new solicitor, and they said as soon as they had my file, they'd look into it. More worryingly, today I received a letter saying that my first mortgage payment is due the 1st of November for a house I don't even own. So it looks as though my old solicitor withdrew the funds early, which is most likely frozen in their bank account. I'm desperately panicking. If this firm has gone bankrupt or something, or sometimes does it mean if this firm has gone bankrupt or something, does it mean I have lost my deposit? Also, my new solicitors are wanting an extra £200 odd more than what the other solicitors asked for originally, and they're charging more for searches that have already been done. Is this normal? I'm seriously stressed out with all of it. Oh my goodness me! Wow. Okay, Anna, that is an intense situation to be in. I'm absolutely shocked to hear that, and I've got to be careful how I handle this question, Anna, because I don't want anybody to be jumping to conclusions here. But look, let me share with you. I have walked through this process twice this year with different law firms, and it is an unfortunate sign of the times. Not this is going to be of any help to you, but I'll just explain to you what might be going on. It's an unfortunate sign of the times with solicitors' professional indemnity insurance premiums escalating, that more and more are being forced to close their doors, and they're under a lot of regulatory pressure. They're under a lot of pressure from their insurers because they run the risk, unfortunately, if they're sole practitioners or even if they're in a limited company in some aspects, they run the risk of losing everything because when a solicitor has to close their doors for to cease trading, they have to pay what's known as run-off cover. And that is usually a multiple of it. I think it's about 2 to 2.5 times the last year's insurance premium as run-off cover to cover any claims for the next 7 years that might arise. Okay, now you can imagine if you're paying £100,000 insurance premium, that is a big chunk of cash to find, and a lot of solicitors don't have it. And unfortunately, scenarios like this can evolve. And as I say, I walked through this twice with 2 different law firms this year, and it is very uncomfortable for the owners. And that would probably explain a lot of the reasons why you've had difficulty getting hold of this particular solicitor. It could well be that they've been very good at what they've done. And I have seen this, as I say, this year already, where you've got very, very good solicitors working in a practice and they're being forced out of business because of the escalating insurance premiums. And that's causing them a lot of headaches. So what I would do in your situation, and just to get to the crux of this matter, I would get onto the SRA website, that's the Solicitors Regulation Authority website, and check to see what action, if anything, has been taken. Okay. Give them a call, okay, and explain the situation and see if there's anything they can do to assist. They may, this firm may be in transitioning, in closing. It may be closed. We don't know what's happened to the funds. Have they been drawn down? Have they not? So that's another phone call to your broker or your lender, or maybe both, and find out what's actually gone on. Have the funds been drawn down, or is this an administrative mistake? Because if you've tried to pay your deposit in and it's bounced back and your bank has told you that the account is closed, then it may well be that your deposit hasn't actually been transferred in, and it's stuck somewhere in the banking system. And it may also be that your mortgage funds haven't been drawn down into the solicitor's bank account because they are, again, stuck in the banking system somewhere, or there's been a mistake with some paperwork that's been issued, or they are actually sitting in the solicitor's client account. Now, providing it's not a fraudulent situation, and I can't say for definite whether it is or it isn't, but with solicitors, they should have a separate ring-fenced client account to stop this sort of thing happening, where the money they use to run the firm and the client's money not being merged together in one pot. Okay, so stop. As you can imagine, any kind of, when a solicitor's sitting on multi-million pounds worth of other people's money, you can imagine what sort of scenarios might unfold from there. But the point is, in this situation, you need to be able to recall your funds as quickly as possible. And by speaking to the lender, they may be able to step in and recall the funds immediately, because obviously it's a huge mistake based on the information you've given me, or they may be able to intervene in terms of putting some pressure on the SRA or whatever is required to get it resolved. Because, as I say, if it's a fraud, and I hope to God it isn't, but if it's a fraud, then obviously there's much bigger issues at play here. And the likelihood is, not that it will be any comfort to you, but the likelihood is there will be other people in the same boat as well. Okay, so it's really important to make those 2 phone calls, get onto the SRA, get onto the lender. And then once you've got more information, you can then make a decision as to what you need to do. God forbid it's the worst case scenario. Obviously, there's some reporting duties to do in terms of speaking to the local police or serious fraud office. I've got some reservations about how effective the serious fraud office would be, but it's worth registering that. And also Action Fraud as well, with their online website inquiries there. But the key point here is to get the knowledge and information that you need to work out exactly what's gone on, because it sounds like a doom and gloom scenario. It might be that everything's ring-fenced and protected. The money's sitting in a client account. It's going to be transferred over to the new solicitors, and the new solicitors want an extra couple of £100 to double check the work that's been done so far, because they'll have the file transferred out from the old solicitors to them. So they might want to just, sort of hedge their risk and double check that all the work's being done appropriately, and that, there's nothing that might bite them on the backside because they're taking over somebody else's work. And that's fairly, standard. But if all you're facing is, a couple of £100 on top of the experience that you've just gone through, I'd pay it and just get the deal done. You know what I mean? Whereas obviously the opposite could be a lot worse. And I'm sorry that you're in that position. And it's, I can't imagine how anxious that must be to sort of deal with. As I say, I've walked through it with a couple of firms just by being on a sort of advisory role or a kind of purchasing role, as it were, for the law firm. But to have this situation unfold as a potential client must be absolutely dreadful. And I unfortunately potentially see this situation unfolding a lot more in the future, particularly as the housing market calms down, insurance premiums continue to escalate, mistakes that have been made get washed out over the course of the next few years and months. And I do see it's going to be a bit of a problem. That's not necessarily just my view. I do work with a very heavy hitter in the legal firm industry, and he is also of the same opinion that there is going to be a number of firms that will unfortunately have to close their doors, particularly if a recession kicks in and the housing market takes a turn for the worse. So hope that helps, Anna. I really do hope that it gets you to the right side of this scenario and you get moved and you can put it all behind you as a bad nightmare and one down to experience and a great story to tell to dinner parties and that sort of thing in the future. But sorry that you've had to go through it, because it must be an absolute nightmare. So that's the end of the questions there. Fairly heavy one to end on there, but I hope you guys have enjoyed tuning in. As always, if you've got any questions, any concerns, any comments, any feedback that you want to give us, send it through to us. Happy to help at wiggywam.co.uk. I'm going to continue doing these webinars. I absolutely love them. I get a lot of excitement actually in the lead up to doing these webinars and answering all these questions and seeing what you guys are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. It can be a minefield out there without the right people to go to sort of turn to for advice and everything else. But we're here to help and support as many people as we can. We've got the teams behind us who can help and support you as well. So if it's things like finding a conveyancer, if it's things like your searches, if it's things like your sellers packs, anything like that, then we're here to help and support you as much as we can. So I'm going to say goodbye at that level, guys. Thank you so much indeed for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on another webinar very soon. Thanks indeed for your attention, and good luck and goodbye.